Like I talked about it before, you can't think about it like, okay, like this is the national championship. You got to think about, okay, what is this play? What do I need to do on this next play to make sure I put my team in the best possible position to succeed on that play? Hey everyone, we're back for another recording, another YouTube episode with me and Noah. We wanted to get on this show again for you guys. Now that football season is over, I don't have to worry about any more football obligations. Noah's been enjoying watching the football season the entire way, but we really wanted
Absolutely.
to, but we really wanted to get on here and really uh, wrap up the college football season, wrap up the Montana Grizzlies football season, and talk about the national championship game that I was lucky enough to play in. So
This is a big one,
Noah,
baby.
yeah,
This is a
this is
big
this is
one.
this is a big one. So the first thing we want to talk about is what the preseason expectations were, and I always find it interesting to see what a fan. I know you're not a typical fan, but what the fans' preseason expectations were. So Noah, coming into the season, what did you expect of the Montana Grizzlies?
That is a great question. And for me, I was a little unsure about this team, if I'm being completely honest. Like, I obviously still have a lot of buddies on this team that I got to play with when I was there and everything like that. But sometimes you look at like those preseason polls and them being like at six and something like that. And usually that coach's poll is pretty good usually. And like they had us kind of in the middle of the pack. And like it was just kind of interesting to see that because it's been a while since we've had that kind of expectation. Like feels like a lot of teams before have had high expectations. And this one, everybody was kind of like felt disrespecting the team a bit. And like I can't lie. I had my doubts at first, in the preseason, but then it's exactly why you play the games though, right? Like it's why you go out there and do it. But yeah, I think for me it was just like a little bit of uncertainty, seeing how the pieces fit, and just I was really excited and interested to see how that first game against Butler went. Like it's a solid opponent. It felt like, and a good quarterback to play right off the bat and everything like that. So it was a lot of mystery. I felt like with this team, which made it really exciting to get to game one this year.
Yeah, I remember because I was lucky enough to represent the University of Montana at Big Sky Media Days, um, and I remember being in our hotel, and when the coaches poll came out, and we were voted as finishing right in the middle of the pack. I think at six
I think so.
in the
Yeah.
Big Sky Conference. And when I've talked uh, ad nauseum about this. I think the University of Montana is in a unique position to where you are expected to vie for a national championship every year. Not every program in the country can say that, but I think the University of Montana is one of them. I think that the questions coming into the season were valid. However, I also think that looking back at last year, there was a lot of things that happened where it might have put, if you just looked at our record, it might have put a not so accurate label on us. We played. I'm talking about last year now. We played, I think four road games against top five teams. That's always tough.
Mhm.
Our starting quarterback got hurt and was out for 3 or 4 games. Um, and you look back on the season and you see an abnormal amount of losses. I think we went 8-5,
I think so. And then
eight and
the
five.
last game was at NDSU, and that was a tough
Yeah,
one.
and
That was
so
a
I
tough
mean,
one.
and like there were so many injuries that happened during last season that it really kind of it didn't give an accurate representation of what that team was. And so I think that kind of followed us into the preseason expectations, and preseason is all about fans, right? It's all about how you feel like your favorite team is going to do that year, who's going to start at quarterback, what does the schedule look like, how many wins do you expect from the players from the player's perspective, from my perspective, it was always you're going into a game expecting to win. You never like it's like you never go into a game and be like, oh man, like we might be able to squeak this one out. It's you always like there was definitely some the big question marks coming into this season were the defense and how that was going to stack up, losing so much veteran leadership on the defense, and then who was going to start at quarterback. And when you're the University of Montana and your defense is one of the staples of the program, and then you look at the quarterback, you don't know who the quarterback is going to be. Quarterback is one of the most popular. It's one of the most, if not the most important position that a team can have. So I can see the fact that a lot of fans were worried about this season.
Yeah, and like you said, like this fan base, this program is not even the fan base, but this program has earned the right through all these years to be considered a national championship contender each and every year, and that's what the fans expect. That's what like as a team, like you said, you're always expecting to win, and it's like if you don't have that mindset at the University of Montana, you don't last very long. Like that, if
Exactly.
like and like the fans the preseason is all about the fans and our fan base. It's just the highest of the highs, the lowest of the lows. It's a roller coaster, and it everybody looks like, especially like how the season goes on and starts, and everybody looks back at like their takes at a certain point, and then it's just like,
Yep.
wow, like the overreactions, everything like
Yeah.
that, and like it's fun to look like as looking back on that some of that stuff is just I'm sure for you like especially after the season trying to block all that stuff out and like
Mhm.
looking back at like what was said like in the preseason or in like non-conference
Uh,
play and stuff like that.
Yeah, and that's the hard part about being the play about being a player on a team with such a passionate fan base. I love our fans.
Oh,
I
they're
think
the
we have. I
best.
think yeah, they're the best. I think we have the best fan base in the country. But they're not afraid to share their opinion on how the team is doing, which
Yeah,
is going to happen for any passionate fan base. And
and
it's hard for players to not hear that.
yeah.
It's you can say stay off of social media, cut out the noise. Um, but just the way everything works now, especially when you're a guy like me who's trying to run a social media based company in BarnBurner Sports, that's tough.
Yeah.
But you definitely hear the noise, and I think the noise was the loudest after we had that unexpected loss to NAU in the fourth game of the season and our first conference game.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And like just talking about like the passionate fan base and everything, it's why people come to play here. Like the being
Yeah.
like the over that's why people come. Like that's why they're the best. It's why like the fan base is the best here and why we get a lot of people here. And it's like, especially it's hard for you, like yes, with the social media part, but then you got me and Dalton in the group chat overreacting to every little thing that like, it's just like
Yeah,
we
yeah.
don't make it easy on them. But
If you're not hearing it on social media, you're hearing it from your friends. I mean, you're hearing it from your aunt, and uncle who are texting you after the game, like what happened on this play, blah blah blah. It's that's just how it works.
yeah, and it's a part of it. And like, yeah, I mean, you like the Butler, like just going through the first four, let's go like the first three games in non-conference. Like Butler was like a struggle in the first half, second half team, come back, finish that one off. Utah
Hmm.
Tech, wire to wire, just good football the whole game. And then you show up to that blackout game against Ferris State and just like for me, like what I'm interested in, like what was your take before like going into that game and like because
Yeah.
from the outside it was like obviously some people are like, yeah, it's a D2 school, but it's a D2 school that's very successful. Very
So
like, I mean, they're a great, great program and even
so
no matter what.
yeah. I mean, when yeah we beat Utah Tech pretty handedly in a 30-point win in the second game of the year. Ferris being our second home game, we beat Utah Tech. We throw on the film on Sunday for Ferris. Uh, they're you can say that yeah, it's a D2 team. They are not a normal D2 team. I
Not
I
at all.
am I am adamant that they would be able to to compete easily at the FCS level. They would be able to compete with a lot of Big Sky schools, and they did. I mean,
Yeah.
we the score of our game was 17-10. Like, and a lot of people on the outside were probably thinking, "Oh, this is a D2 team. The Grizzlies are a national title contender. This is going to be a blowout." Ferris is not a normal D2 team. Uh, when you look at like, there's not the way I frame it is they're in Michigan, right? There's not an FCS team in Michigan.
Mm.
If you're gonna transfer out, because there's a lot of transfers on that team. There's a lot of D1 bounce backs on that team. If you're gonna be a D1 bounce back and in that upper part of the United States, there's not a lot of FCS schools in the Midwest.
No.
You're gonna end up at a place like Ferris State, and you're gonna win a lot of football games. They are a really good football team, and I can tell you that their their defensive line and their middle linebacker were a top 3 unit that we've played this year.
Yeah. Yeah, and like I think the part like you kind of equate that to how like in Montana you have Montana State with the two D1 programs, but you don't have a D2 school, you don't have a D3 school. That's why all these Montana frontier programs in the NAIA level are so competitive each and every year. And that's
Hmm.
kind of how you have to look at it. And like that game obviously probably raised some eyebrows, but then yes, you do get to that NAU game and it's that trip to Flagstaff and you're like it's always it feels like in Arizona when you come to northern Arizona, like you have the altitude, you have that like very underrated stadium. I mean, we were talking about that last night. Very
Hmm.
underrated stadium. And then like the Grizz fans in Arizona travel like to Arizona travel very well too. Like they had
Absolutely.
tailgates outside and like they travel well everywhere, but it seems like they have more tailgates here, they have everything like that. And like I think it was like, oh, the expectations like, yeah, we're gonna beat them 2 scores, get out of here, enjoy it. And then the opposite happens. Like
Hmm.
kind of felt like what could go wrong in that game went wrong. Like it just was
And
a tough
and
one
I
to swallow.
yeah, and I mean I can sit here and say that this didn't happen or this didn't go our way. Like, we just didn't get the job done. And
Absolutely. Yeah.
that's gonna happen. Even to good teams, sometimes you just don't get the job done. You look back at, I can tell you right now, like, when after that game, I go back, we get back in town on Sunday the next morning. I go into the film room, and you watch the game on this huge projector, and you are sitting there and you are saying to yourself, what more could I have done to make sure that we did not lose this game? You were looking at every step, you were looking at every call that I made, every block that could have gone this way, but it went this way. Like, you look at the film and you try to pick apart every little thing that you did wrong or that you could have done better to try to win the game. Um, and it's really hard to win Division I football games. It's harder when you're trying to not beat yourself. And I think a lot of what we did in that game, we just beat ourselves. We beat ourselves, and they took it. And credit to Northern Arizona for taking advantage of it, because they beat us 28-14. And like, but I will say that I believe that was a huge turning point in our season.
Yeah.
Uh, Prior to that game, I don't know if we were trying to find our identity on offense. We were trying to regain the momentum that we wanted going into the rest of the season. But I believe that was a huge turning point. I think that little conversation, that little bit that I just did about looking at the projector and watching the film and seeing what I could have done better to try to help us win the game. I think everybody did that, and I think that was a huge turning point for the rest of the season.
Yeah, that was gonna be my next question. It's just like so obviously you get back Saturday night, you do your individual film on Sunday, then you come to the big like team meeting, team film, like offense, defense, like your film session with your coaches, do all that. Like what like it seems just felt like everybody's like in from outside perspective, everybody's like, okay, we're cut like how it can't get any like almost like it can't get any worse right now. What
Yeah.
can we do to come together and get out of this? And like,
Hmm.
because then you look into it as like, so that next week you have Idaho State, who's an up and down program at times, and it's like, okay, like you have to regain it, and like it's a home game after a big loss like that. Like what went on that week? Like I'm sure it was kind of like same old, but like something had to feel in that locker room that kind of like you said was the turning point. Like what was it in that week, or maybe next 2 weeks going into those next few games? Like what happened in there where everybody's like just hooking arms with each other, like we got to get together and go forward in this.
I mean, that's what it was. I mean, when you're a program like Montana that is expected to win every game, and every player is expecting to win every game. When you drop one, it's just really disappointing. And again, you look at everybody gets real introspective after a game like that. Coaches, administrators, players, everybody gets real introspective. And I think after that game, everybody tightened it up. Um, Everybody locked arms. Everybody knew that every goal that we had was still on the table. We made it harder for ourselves, but uh, every goal that we had was still on the table, and that's kind of what got us through that.
Yeah, and that's the mentality. Like that's what this team looked like. Like this team, like it was on offense, it's a team effort. Like you don't have like you have like a few standout guys, but it's like everybody's a team collective. Everybody's scoring, like everybody's catching ball, everybody's scoring, everybody's making their block. Like it just looked like a team out there. And on the defense, it's the same thing. Like you have like a few players that are just stepping up and playing really well, but like as a whole unit, it just looked like everybody's playing together. And then like Coach Houck always puts a spotlight on those special teams players. Like everybody's
Yeah,
blocking their butt off every single time. Like no matter if the ball, like even on kickoff, even the ball's kicked 10 yards out of the end zone, if you look at everybody is just invested in blocking or invested in chasing the ball down the, like, it's just, everybody seemed to like just come together as a unit. And I think that was
yeah,
really cool about this team is you didn't have like the huge, like you have like Junior Bergen, obviously, but you didn't like, it just seemed like a whole unit's coming at you every game. Since from the NAU game on, it was like you're gonna have to take all of us. You can't like it doesn't matter if you stop one of us, you have to take all of us. It's kind of what it
yeah,
felt like from it and looked like on the TV and everything watching you guys.
yeah. And then you kind of go through the next the next three games after the NAU game. I mean, those are close wins. Those are, I mean, it's a one score game against UC Davis. It comes
One
right
score.
down to the nail. It comes right down to the wire against Idaho. Like those are, I mean, those are two really good teams. And
And
when
then
you
even
go
I don't
through when
go ahead.
when you go through that as a team, when you're able to face adversity like that, when you're able to know that you're in these really tight games, but damn it, you're gonna win that sucker. Like that's a great feeling. I don't there was playing with the confidence that we had after the one game that we dropped. It was awesome. It was awesome to see. You could see it in everybody. After after that NAU game, everybody had so much confidence in what everyone was doing. It was great. Like we were rolling into that stadium, whichever whether it be Wild Grizz or on the road, we were rolling into the stadium and we knew that we were going to give whoever we were playing our best shot. And
Mhm.
that's a great feeling.
Yeah, no, 100%. It's like then like going like Idaho State's a close one score game too. Like right after the NAU game, it's that close one against Idaho State. Three close games right in a row, and then like you get the bye. You hit the bye right after Idaho. Huge win in the Kibbie Dome on ESPN two, I believe. Like huge win, and then you got to hit the bye week. Obviously, like you have all you like you said, you feel all that momentum, and then it's like the bye week, and it's like those are always no matter who you play on the other side. It's just like it's always a tough. Like when you're hot like that and you're kind of starting to the team starting to feel it, you can see like just look like everybody out there is having a blast. Like those after that game, like it's just like then it's just like okay, the bye week hits and it's like you gotta yes, you get the time to rest, you get the time to rehab, to get healed up. But how was it in that bye week to kind of like almost like okay, here's the final push here, like especially like for like you going into your last well after the bye week, 4 games in conference play, like you
Mm.
have 4 games of conference play left. How is it for you? Like okay, like we're in the thick of it in the Big Sky race. We're right here. We got 4 games to kind of push through. How is it for like you as a senior getting ready to go into those final four after into the bye week?
Yeah, I mean, like I said before, going into the bye week, we knew that every goal that we had set before the season was still on the table. We could still win the conference championship. We could still go to the playoffs. We could still contend for national championship. Everything that we had set as a goal was still on the table. Um, Going into the bye weeks are huge for teams because mainly it gives you a chance to rest. Um, I remember my first fall season here, since we had the spring season before the fall season, thanks COVID. My first fall season,
Shout out.
our bye week in 21 was the third week of the year. That's tough because when you play when you when you play football week after week after week after week, eventually your body will break down somewhere or another. Some guys may not have big time injuries um, that keep them out for long periods of time, but what happens is your body just breaks down and you get tired, and that bye week allows you to really recoup physically and mentally to get ready for the last stretch of the season, which was arguably the hardest part of the season. Uh, like we have,
It's
uh,
no, yeah. You look at it, you got Sac State, who's won the Big Sky last. I think they won it the last two, three
2 years.
years, 2 years. Then you got Montana State, obviously, at the end of the year, and obviously that game came down to it for the top, like one of the top two seeds in the conference championship, and like that. I remember like because like being here and not like in Missoula or anything, it's just like I just remember like on Twitter just feeling the buildup of that game, and I was like, gosh, this feels like the biggest brawl in like forever. Like maybe not the like it just felt like the buildup and everything. It's like you got two
Yeah,
top programs, and
yeah.
it's just everything was right there in that game. And it's like those last four games is like you guys just played the best football that you could have. Like you blow out Northern Colorado, you blow out Sac State, see you later. You blow out Portland State. And then it comes to that last game of the year. And it's like, and every time I feel like in those, especially in the Brawl Wild, you need a break to kind of go your way sometimes. And like, yeah, and like on that first drive, we're just like you guys are just marching it down the field, just marching it. Then ball pops loose on the ground and it bounces right to Osmo, and then boom, touchdown. And it just felt like once like that kind of like, okay, we got to bounce, and
Mm,
then we're going to take advantage. And then that game just escalated so quickly. And that
mm.
was one of the most fun games to watch. Like how, well, for you, like what was that game like that?
So, I mean, for anybody watching this that doesn't know, um, Montana and Montana State is just it is. I hate saying Montana State. By the way, I will forever refer to them as Bozeman from now on. I'm
I,
not saying it
I do,
anymore.
I do too, but I'm trying to be professional somewhat here. So
Hey, I'm still pretty fresh coming off my college football career. But I mean that game is like it is Michigan Ohio State. It is Auburn Alabama. It is a massive rivalry game. And then you add on the fact that both teams playing in it are in the top five. Both teams playing in it are vying for a top two seed in the playoffs. Both teams playing in it are at that game competing for a Big Sky Conference championship. The winner of that game then wins the Big Sky Conference championship.
the trophy was
Like
in the building.
yeah, like I don't know. Like I'm not a Montana kid, but I've invested a lot into Montana football and Montana football history, and I've done my research. I don't really know if there was ever a bigger brawl of the wild than what we had this year.
I mean, I've been a Montana kid my whole life, and I can't think of one, but also like probably like I don't know. There's also a time I won 16 straight, so all of those are pretty fun. But
Well,
but no,
I don't know. There was
well,
never. There's
No.
never a brawl of the wild that the winner gets the Big Sky Conference championship and they get a top two seed in the playoffs. Like, and both teams are top five in the country.
Yeah.
I don't think that's ever happened
It
in the history of the rivalry. And the fact that we dominated the game the way that we did was just it was the sweetest way to end of the regular season, especially after how the game went last year. It
mhm.
left it left such a bitter taste in everybody's mouth that everyone was so amped up. Everyone was so ready to play that game. Like you're walking into Wad Grizz playing your biggest rival, like for the conference
Yeah.
championship game. Like there's no better feeling than that,
No.
you know?
No. And it's like I remember in 21 when we played them at home. Then like when we because usually we come out for for our warm up at 45 minutes or so, 46, 45 minutes. And usually that place, it's not empty, but like people are slowly starting to trickle in. I remember in 21, we came out at 45 minutes. That student section was basically packed already. And it's just like, and it's like you've watched that game on TV so much and whatnot. And like you've, but like being on, like walking out into that, like 45 minutes before the game, you're like, whole, like you just can tell how different it is. Like, and how it is one of those rivalries that equates to like an Ohio State, Michigan, a
Mm-hmm,
Auburn, Alabama. Like you can like it is that kind of atmosphere. And it's like
mm-hmm.
this is every person that's in Montana has somebody at work, at school, at something in their life that is going to give them like a hard time either like depending on who wins. Like it defines 364 days for a lot of people. You know, like
Absolutely.
it's just the craziest thing. And then like you said, just to go into that and just put your foot on their throat and just kind of do that, man. Oh my gosh. I've never been so nervous. Like I I've been at Wa Grizz for most of the games in my life. Being away and watching it on TV 100 times worse because you cannot feel like the energy in the stadium. You can't like you have no feel of it. And then
Yeah.
it's like just like I was pacing around the first drive, we just go right down and do our thing. And then after that, I'm like, this is so awesome. I'm like, this is the best day ever. And
Yeah,
like just
and
settling into my chair more and more as the game kept going, it's
yeah,
just the best. It's
and
just the
and
best.
and so after we win the game, uh, me and the rest of the O line, we go and get the Great Divide Trophy. We put it on our shoulders. We do our victory march around Wild Grizz, which is awesome. And then right after that game, you have the bye week going into the first round of the
Mhm.
playoffs. You have the first round bye, which is going back to our early conversation about what bye weeks are. That's awesome. Like it refreshes you physically, mentally, emotionally, everything. Um,
It's crucial.
that
Like
that
it,
this yeah, and this playoff run that we went on. I mean, I've never been anything a part of it. Uh, the second round of the playoffs, we play Delaware, who is another just historic college football brand. They were a powerhouse a long time ago. They've always been a consistently good football team. They're one of the more historic brands in college football,
yeah, and they had
along
a
with
very solid team this year, like top 15
yeah,
team the whole
yeah,
year.
yeah. And uh, we play that game. It wasn't supposed to snow at all. Uh, and then I remember being at the team dinner before the game, and I'm looking out the window, and I'm just like, "Oh, this is a blizzard. There's a blizzard coming right now." And we go
The
up for
storm's
kickoff,
coming.
and yeah, storm, and it came. Oh boy, did it come! And we go up for kickoff, and the field is covered with snow. I have to take my glove off my right hand so I could snap the ball in the snow, and it's wet and it's cold and everything. And then we obviously we beat them pretty handedly. It was one of the most fun game. Any snow game that you ever play in is great. A
How
snow playoff game is awesome for
and then you
everybody.
add
You
in
know,
then you add in like what like just you're in the mountains at Walkers. Like yeah, that's the backdrop. You're in the mountains. There's people shirtless in the crowd for some reason. Like it's just it's you wrap in that environment and there's always no matter what snow game you get, there's always one guy without a shirt on. He's always the highlight, you know. But
Yeah.
it's just, yeah, there's nothing like it. And then you go into the quarterfinal round and you get a really good Furman team. If we're like just like they were, it was going to come down to at the end of the at like proceeding if they beat Wofford, it was going to come down to Montana versus Furman for the 2 seed. Like
Yep.
that's where they were at that point of the season. And like they have their little slip up, which again it happens. And it's like you're playing a very, very good Furman team coming into Griz. And what stood out, what stands out, like obviously like you get the OT win, you get an overtime game, like and kind of like the highs and the lows. Like you get him in 4th and 10, and you're like, oh, like here we go, one play, and then like you see the quarterback literally going down and makes one of the better throws I've seen in a very long time.
Yeah.
Like if Patrick Mahomes did that, man, Twitter would have been. But like he makes he just gives this guy a chance and they make the play, and then like you're on the sideline, like getting ready for overtime, and then what was your thoughts when you saw them keep the offense on the field 2 point try to win it right in regulation? Like what was going through your head right when that happened?
So the way that I've described it to people is you watch that and I saw my college football mortality flash before my eyes. Like, because senior year, every playoff game could be the last game you ever play as a college football player. And so
Mm-hmm.
when you see a situation like that, like you're just hoping and praying that you get one more chance to go out and try to win the game.
Yeah.
Um, we
Shout out North End
that
Zone, baby.
yeah, exactly. And it's I mean it's just I mean, overtime game in the playoffs. You just can't get any better than that. And it came down to the last play of the game, and like I'm just sitting there on the sideline. I'm squatting down. I'm watching the play, and I can see it clear as day. And as soon as they don't convert, it's just mayhem.
Pandemonium.
It's just
Yeah.
pandemonium. Everybody's hugging each other. Grizz go to the semifinals. Like it's just a great feeling. And then you go into the semifinals against North Dakota State,
Oh my.
which
This is
I mean,
I think you go. I mean, just I like in that Furman game. I was at home because I knew I was coming back for graduation that next weekend for the semi weekend, and it was going to work out perfectly. I was super excited. And then like that Furman, I'm in my apartment throwing my couch cushions everywhere, celebrating, yelling around. But it's like then you get like you said, like you get North Dakota State, and like what better like if you look at this season, you go through everybody. Like you play the best teams. You go through like top five team in Idaho. Go through it. I think Sac was in the top 10, top five when you play them. You play Bozeman in the top five. You play a Delaware team that's been in the top 15 all year. You play Furman, who was the top 10 seed. Then you get North Dakota State. You get the powerhouse. You get the team that's been the standard. You get like you're playing the best competition that you probably could have gotten in the playoffs. And it's like, and it comes down to Wagris Saturday night, all eyes on this game, ESPN again, and man, what a game! What an atmosphere! I was in the stands. We didn't sit the whole game, the entire game. Like nobody sat. It was amazing. It was that atmosphere was just electric from play number one, and it was
mhm,
just on. And like that game was just incredible.
mhm. Yeah, I mean, it's you talk about two powerhouse programs going up against each other, and at that point in time, the most pivotal game of the season for both teams. I mean, it's win or go home. It's either you win and go to the national championship game, or you lose and your season's done. I mean, there's nothing more pivotal than that. That entire week, uh, we remembered the fact that we went to Fargo last year in the quarterfinals, had our season end in North Dakota. That sucked. Ever ever since I have been following FCS football, NDSU had been the standard for winning, and it was just such a great opportunity for us to be able to finally unseat them as the standard. Um, it's that game was there were so many emotions going into that game that I just can't. I can't even really. I know this is a podcast, but I can't put it into words what everyone was feeling in that game. We wanted to win that game so bad. Not only were we were playing for a chance to go to the we were playing to go to the national championship, but we were playing to beat the team that ended our season last year. And we talked about it all season. We were talking about the revenge tour. You went through the list a couple seconds ago about all the teams that we had lost to last year that we had beat this year. NDSU was just the next team on the list, and it just so happened to have major implications for the rest of our season in the playoffs. It comes down to overtime again, back-to-back overtime games,
Oh my
which
goodness.
had never happened, in the history of Griz, you know. But
It's just that with that environment, it's like you see, I think it was the 2 point play, the juniors play when he got face masked through the two, that was 2 point, right?
mhm,
And so like you see Junior come around the hand on the ball, you see a guy like try to like you think he's gonna tackle him, gets the face mash, like all right, perfect. Like next, like we'll get the next try, and then he just throws it. Ball gets tipped, and then Spidey Keelan White with the hands, just just right to him, and then it's like okay, here we go, like one stop. Doesn't matter if it's 4 downs. It doesn't matter if it's a 2 point, one stop. That's what it comes
yeah,
down to. And like with that defense, like there's in my mind, it's like they're gonna get one of these stops, like whether it's a 4 down stop or whether it's a 2 point stop. In my mind,
mhm,
watching it, and then you get North Dakota State kind of running a similar play, handed it to their receiver to throw it, and
yeah,
then the ball goes in the air and you see it get caught and by a Grizzly with the maroon jersey on, and that place just explodes.
mhm,
That was the crate like we were up in the crowd and it's just like what like we're just jumping up and like so we're okay what are we what's happening like this place there's fireworks going off there's everybody sell like it's just what like one of the coolest experiences as like a Grizz fan for me in my entire
mhm,
life like being there for that and seeing that happen and then trying to find where to jump down onto the field like and then then you're down there and I'm like where the heck am I going and then somehow run into you and that like for me was such a cool moment like to look back on forever. Like that was
AJ, where we going, baby? Going to a national championship, yes, baby! Let's go!
yeah. Like you know, Corbin gets the pick, game ends, mayhem ensues, and like everything you ever work for as a college football player, all those emotions, like all those emotions come up right there. Like
mm-hmm.
it is just it is pure joy. Like I had I had tears in my eyes. I was so happy. Like I've run into you. We shared an awesome moment together. Alyssa, my fiance, comes and grabs me in the crowd, and we share just the most beautiful moment that I've. It was awesome because she's been there with me on this journey from the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and so just sharing that moment with her was incredible. And then afterward, you go into the locker room. I mean, you're going to the national championship. Everybody is as excited as I've ever seen anybody be ever. That's just the situation. Like, how many people get the opportunity to go to the national championship game as a college football player? Not many. And
Not
we
many.
were lucky enough to be one of the teams that got to do that.
Yeah, and like it was cool like seeing all of or like I'm just like looking at all the people like all the boys on Instagram posting their videos, seeing like the Grizz like page post all the videos and everything like and like seeing you punch the ticket and do all that and like then like then we go out that night like I do and with Dalton and those guys, and it's like that place was just like you left the game like going through like where all the tailgates are, everybody's still there, everybody's still going, like it's just like it was such a celebration for that kid, like for the whole fan base, the community. And like then you go down to the like bar and it's like you can't even get into most of them. It's like it was so cool to see that reaction from like, which like obviously it's kind of the reaction you expect with our fan base to be like that, but it's like still like to see that moment come and see it happen and like see how the whole town and community is just like all about that moment. I think that was like one of the coolest parts, you know?
Yeah, like after the game, we celebrate in the locker room. I shower, I change, I go to my truck, and I remember driving through campus, and everybody's honking their horn at me, everybody's waving, everybody's so excited. Um, I mean, it was just a great way to end the night. Like I said, like how many people get that opportunity to do what we did, you know, and
Yeah.
then it culminates in a in a national championship.
Yeah. And then you get like, then it's like, okay, like Christmas happens, you get like your few days, you come back, practice, like that whole lead up and everything like that. What were like the days in Missoula like after Christmas, kind of like preparing and like you have like, well, how many days was it from? Was it 3 weeks almost? Or it's almost a month.
Yeah, it was about three.
Almost,
Yeah, it was
yeah,
about
about a
yeah,
month.
yeah,
And like, so what were like those first few weeks like in Missoula
yeah.
before you went to Frisco and everything?
Yeah, so after the game, uh, we that week of Christmas, Coach Hauk is a big family guy. He wants to make sure that we are able to spend time with family, that we are able to relax when we have the opportunity to relax. Um, so we had a couple practices that week of Christmas. It was just some base correction stuff, the stuff that we wanted to go over after the NDSU game, make sure everything was tight before everybody left to go on the break. And then when we came back, um, uh, that's when the true preparation for South Dakota State was. During the break, like guys would get together here and there, and we would watch film, and we would talk about different things that we would want, that we see or would want to do, and everything like that. But after we got back from Christmas, we had two weeks or so to really dial in and prepare for South Dakota State. So it was a normal. That first week, it would be like a normal practice schedule.
Mhm.
Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. You know, normal practice schedule that you would have.
It got
Um,
to like business as usual, pretty
that yeah,
much.
absolutely. Like you can't. And the thing
Can't do
with
anything
this game,
different.
exactly. Like the thing with this game is you can't make it more than what it is. Like yeah, like yes, it's a huge game. It's the national championship game. You know, but you can't constantly keep reminding yourself like this is the national championship game. You got to play your best game. You got to play your best game. You got
Mhm.
to play your best game. Like you can't do that, or else you're gonna get overwhelmed. Like even
Yeah.
the best athletes are going to get overwhelmed when you constantly
Yeah.
give yourself that kind of pressure. You have to really dial into the details and just take the game for what it is. We were playing South Dakota State. That's what everyone was thinking about,
Hmm.
you know. Um, and so the week leading up to the game, uh, we practiced all the way up until Sunday, the previous Sunday. We had a day off on Monday, and then that next Tuesday we got into our normal practice schedule. Like we went business as usual. So on Tuesday we had
Yeah.
our Monday practice, Wednesday we had our Tuesday practice, so on and so forth.
Went, and then you went to Frisco on Wednesday,
Wednesday, so we
Wednesday night.
had yeah, so we had our work that we call it our work day. We had our full pad
Hmm.
practice on Wednesday, Wednesday morning, early Wednesday morning. We change and we get on a plane to Frisco right after.
Hmm.
Uh, the trip to Frisco was awesome. What what a lot of people don't realize is when you have the game of the implications that a national championship does, there's a lot of things outside of football that are going around you. Like we were at the hotel right next to the Dallas Cowboys training facility, which was super sweet. The whole it was basically like a campus. Like we had our hotel, and then the Ford Center was 30 feet away when you walk out the door.
It
Like,
looks like it's basically attached. Like,
yeah, for all intents and purposes, it is. And then you
yeah,
have this big public turf area with the Dallas Cowboys star in the middle that you see kids running around all the time on it.
it's Jerry
And
World 2.0. Like,
that's essentially what it was. And it was, I mean, it was super cool. Like you go up to like the 13th or 14th floor, and Coach Houck said he looked out the window and he could see the Dallas Cowboys practicing. You know, like it was super
yeah.
cool. But
Yeah,
the further
when we drove by, there was like glass windows and you could see into like the weightlifting facility, and like whoever wasn't making the trip that day or whatever, like who was hurt, just doing like rehab workout, like you could see as clear as day. Like it's really cool. It's really cool.
it was sweet. And like like as you get further into the week, there are different obligations that you're required to do. And so like as a senior captain, I was made available to the media, and so I did different things for, you know, whether it be interviews or content for the NCAA or whatever. I probably had, I don't know, I probably spent, I don't know, a total of 2 hours or so doing just social media content or interviews or whatever for whatever media wanted to talk to me or do stuff with me.
So was that like, because like for Super Bowl, I know they have like media days, and like those college football playoff games, they have media days. Was that just one day where you gave that much time, or did you have to do it over different days, or like how did that work?
So there was there were times here and there throughout the week leading up to the game where our sports media director would snag me after lunch or something like that and be like, "Hey, I need you to do such and
X,
such.
Y, and Z.
It'll be 10 minutes, 15 minutes, 5 minutes, just real quick in and out." And so
Yeah.
that happened throughout the week up until Friday, maybe. But there was the one media day where there was I want to say between 6 or 8 of us being the University of Montana football players that were made available to the media, and we would sit, you know, it's the traditional setting. We would sit down on a table, the media would walk around, and anyone who wanted to talk to us, and we did that media obligation there. That was actually that brings a funny story. So we do that. There's like it's me, it's Nick Osmo, it's Alex Governor, it's Braxton Hill, Levi, you know, just all like the senior leadership on the team that people would want to talk to, and then the junior was there too. He was a popular guy that the media wanted to talk to. Funny story, we were doing that media stuff, but the media time leaked into our practice time, and so we were doing our I was doing the media stuff in uniform. Meanwhile, I look down at my watch and I'm like, oh yeah, they're starting practice right now. And probably 10 minutes go by and I'm just like, all right, I gotta leave. I can't be sitting here doing media while the rest of my guys are out practicing. I can't.
Yeah.
Just the competitor in me, like it's practice,
Yeah.
but it's like that means something to me, and I'm not gonna spend time doing media stuff when I need to be go out and
No.
practicing. And so
Yeah. And it's honestly kind of crazy they allow that to go that far up to it.
yeah, that was a weird situation. So, but after that ends, I go down to the locker room, I change really quick, throw my helmet, shoulder pads. I don't even have enough time to tape my wrists or my fingers or anything like that. And then I go out, I start jogging out to the practice, and usually before practice we have like a walk, not a kind of a walkthrough period where we
Yeah.
just go through the plays that we're going to run that day. And I jog out there, and I go take my spot. And they had probably ran 35 plays already in the walkthrough. We haven't even started stretch yet. Like practice had not started yet, and they had already walked through 35 plays. And I felt so bad that I had to that I was doing media stuff and they were doing the walkthrough. But
Oh gosh.
that was just a fun little tidbit. But
We do love a good walkthrough.
yeah, and for anyone who's played college sports before, a walkthrough is not a walkthrough. It is you are running through play. But that led up to a rather awkward experience where the NCAA decided that I think it was two nights before the national championship game. They got both teams together into one room for a dinner. And
how'd that go?
like it was awkward. Like
it just feels like
SDSU was sitting on one side, of the room, and then we walk in and we sat on the other side of the room. We didn't talk to each other. We barely looked at each other. But we sat down. We had dinner next to each other. I wouldn't even say we had dinner with each other. We just had dinner next to each other.
It just feels like a situation that neither team wants to be in, and it's just a competitive thing. Like it's not that like you don't want to interact. It's just you don't like. It's just it doesn't.
You don't
want
to. You don't want to humanize the opponent before you play in the biggest game of the year.
Not at all. That's what after the game's for. Like say like there's like that stuff. Yeah. Just that and like that is a very awkward situation.
Exactly. And like me being from Nebraska, there were plenty of guys on the team that I knew, like number 2, Isaiah Stallberg, one of their linebackers. He was my first college roommate at Nebraska. We were in the same walk-on class at the University of Nebraska. We walked on together. We were roommates together. And we got the chance to play against each other. But it's not like we're not gonna go across the room and meet in the middle and be like, oh hey, what's up, man? Miss you. No. Yeah, like that's just not gonna happen before the game.
No. Yeah, and like that is kind of a crazy not even coincidence, crazy like how like you both like worked your opportunity like at Nebraska, and then like it doesn't work out for whatever reason, and then it's like you both go to powerhouse FCS schools, then to meet and play against each other in a national championship. It's just because like I'm sure you guys had scrimmages in Nebraska where you're going against each other, and like to do that, and that kind of like it's just such a cool moment, I bet, like afterwards, and like kind of looking back on it, it's just kind of crazy to kind of look at that storyline almost kind of come to be. And then was there anything like else before the game that was like from like that we as an outsider that we don't like get to see or like get to hear about or anything like that led up to it before the game?
I will say that probably the coolest part about that dinner, even though it was super awkward between with both teams being there. The NCAA was nice enough to set up this like gift suite for us. And so what happened was each team was excused from dinner to go to this gift suite, and we were given this $100 gift certificate to buy whatever we want in the catalog that they had. And so we went into this room, and there was like a bunch of tables that kind of you would walk around in like this kind of semicircle kind of deal. And it was like, you could do like, it'd be like headphones or battery packs or sweatshirts, jackets, hammock. There's a hammock that was available. There was like a Garmin watch, was available. And so we had a gift certificate that we would scan on our phones and and we would pick whatever we wanted on that. So that was a super cool deal. We got everyone got a Yeti. Everyone got a Yeti mug
Yeah,
out
I
of that.
saw that.
That
That
was
was
sweet.
sweet. What'd
Um,
you get? What were the items you selected?
so I picked there was there was a pair of like noise canceling over the top earphones that I got, and then there was a power bank, like a wireless power bank that I
Nice.
got
Nice.
since apparently with the new iPhone 15 coming out, this iPhone 14 is not staying as charged very long as it once
The
had.
typical
Thanks, Apple.
the typical Apple thing to do.
Yeah, so
And
that's what I got.
and then the only other thing, like before we get into the game, that I kind of want to ask you about is what was so you get on the bus to go to the stadium finally, and then because I'm sure that more like obviously you do your normal stuff in the mornings, they do every game day, but I'm sure you're just like, let's get there, let's get like it's just it's
Yep,
every game. That's every game day, but especially like
yep.
something like this. And then you get to that, you get to like where the tailgates are, you get to where the walk's starting. What did you like? Because being a part of that atmosphere and like being there and like we showed up at 8 in the morning. Like we were
Yeah.
there, like we were there for like the whole time, and then it's like you then like the bus, like we see SDSU's bus finally come, and then we realize it's them. It's like, oh dang. And then like we're like just waiting, and it's like a mass of humanity, just like everybody's chanting Montana Grizzlies. The band shows up, they start doing their thing. Like it was just crazy. Like it was a crazy scene before you guys even like showed up. And
Mhm.
then for you, like what like you've done plenty of the Grizz walks in Missoula, and they're great, and like everybody comes
Yeah,
out. It's awesome. It's cool to see the fans. But
yeah.
like, what was it like to walk off that bus into that atmosphere before the game started?
Uh, man, so when we pulled up to the stadium, we ended up pulling on the side of the SDSU tailgate, and you look out the window on the bus, and you see so much blue. Yeah, honestly, credit to the SDSU fans
They
for
showed
that
up,
trip. There was a lot of South Dakota State Jackrabbit fans there.
and
I don't
honestly,
think we. I,
every interaction I had with them, they were great. Like
yeah,
the
that's what I heard.
positive. Their fans were. I think it was. I think that was like both fan bases are so passionate, but I think they
Yeah,
do like it's.
yeah,
That's kind of like what you get in those states,
yeah,
like in Montana and South Dakota. It's what you get. Like it's good
yeah.
people.
Exactly. But like when we pull up to the stadium, and we ended up pulling onto the side of the SDSU tailgate first. You look out the window and you see just this wave of blue, and you got like 8-year-olds flipping you off at the bus, and everyone's giving you the thumbs down, and you just look at the opposing fan base, and you're like, all right, they showed up, like they showed up to play. And then we turned the corner around to the side of the stadium that we were gonna walk into. We turn the corner, and you look out at the front of the bus, and there are thousands thousands of people in maroon, and I guarantee everybody on the bus, on those buses, like I'm getting goosebumps right now
I
thinking
am
about
too.
it. Like
Gosh,
I'm
I mean,
getting like I've never seen something like that where as a college football player, I have never been part of an environment where as soon as I step off a bus, there are literally thousands of people waiting for you to get off the bus and are cheering you on as you go on into the biggest game of your life. Like it was the coolest experience. Like I keep saying, I keep saying when I talk about this experience, I keep saying this is the coolest experience. Like everything about going to this national championship game was it's a once in a lifetime thing, and walking into the locker room with thousands of Grizz fans like right there next to you, supporting you all the way up until kickoff. It's awesome, you know. And
yeah,
somehow I found Alyssa in my family in that massive humanity. I was able to do our hug and kiss right before the game. I was able to say hi to my parents and hug them, tell them I love them. No, that was awesome. That whole thing was
yeah,
awesome.
yeah. No, like the cool, like it was just funny. It's like, so you see like the first buses pull up and we're still over, like, because our tailgate like was right across the street from where you guys walked. And so they see, like, we see buses show up and we're like, is that, like, are we gonna miss it? Is that us? Like, what's going on? Then they kind of go away, and then you just see, like, then they walk, do their thing and everything, and then you just see like a sea of maroon trying to cross the street. You see like four police officers trying to like get them around the gates, and then it's like, and then there was like three or four people deep the whole way down, and then like in the front you just had everybody. It was just,
Everybody.
it was such a cool scene for that, like going like just like through 2 hours before the game, like, or whatever it was, like, it's just kind of crazy. And then you get into the stadium and it's just a buzz in there the whole time, like, just like that whole thing. Then you get the flyover before the game, and then like the coin toss, and it's like, okay, like it's finally here. And then you get into the meat and potatoes of the game, and it's just like, it's just a crazy environment. It's just like, I remember being a little kid watching them on TV the last time, and it's like being there. It was like just like being there in general. At the start of that game, I was like, what is happening? Like, this is amazing. Like, it's just, from like the fan perspective, I was like, this is the coolest thing. Like, as a fan, like, your team's playing for like the national championships is the coolest thing as a fan, like, and everything like that to see.
Yeah, I mean, that whole week leading up to the game, it was the further along you got, it was okay. When's kickoff? When's kickoff? I want to get this thing going. I want to get this thing. Yeah, you're just waiting for the game to start. Um, and I'm blessed enough that I got elected as a senior captain. I got to go out. I got to call the coin toss. You get the flyover. Like, it was everything that you could ever dream of. And then we get into the game, and then kickoff happens. Everything,
It's here. It's
everything,
here.
everything that has happened prior to that next play doesn't matter anymore.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter anymore. And I think that's the best way to really try to excel in those big moments, in those big games that someone might play in. Is you like I talked about it before. You can't think about it like, okay, like this is the national championship. You got to think about, okay, what is this play? What do I need to do on this next play to make sure I put my team in the best possible position to succeed on that play? And
And it's just
as we
doing,
go,
and like, it's just doing what you do all year and then seeing where the chips fall. Like,
yeah,
it's
exactly.
kind of how, like, it's kind of how you have to attack it. It's like, it's kind of like the same thing when, like, it's like the Bozeman game is like, yes, it's the biggest game you like usually of the year. It is, like, it is. And it's like, okay, yeah, but it's like, it's the same thing as if we're playing Butler. It's the same, like, it's like,
Yeah,
it's, you got,
you
like,
have
once
to
you get
treat.
into it,
Yeah,
especially.
once you get into the game, you have to treat each play as its own thing.
Hmm.
Or else you're going to be thinking too much. You're not going to be reactionary. You're not going to be thinking about what your job is.
Hmm.
And it's I mean it's kind of cliche, but it's true. You have
100%.
to on every play you have to do your job, and that becomes ever more important when you play in big games. And then, like, you look at how the first half of the national championship game went. I mean, it was super competitive at halftime. It was we were down 7-3 against um, a team who had won 28 straight games at that point. Um, but it's hard to win games when you're beating yourself first. Like, it's hard to win games in general. It's hard to win games when you're beating yourself. Like, when we don't execute, when we don't make the play that we need to on a given down, or I don't make a block that I need to make on a given play to try to spring a runner on a play, or, like, it's just, it was that first half. We didn't execute on some of the things that we needed to execute in order to try to get a lead at some point. And then that remained true for the rest of the game, unfortunately.
Yeah, and
you can't win games when you turn the ball over. You can't win games when you don't capitalize on field position. Just all the football coach lingo that you hear all the time, like it's
yeah,
true. Like you can't turn the ball over. You got to capitalize on field position. You got to be able to run the ball. And I mean, that's just how the
yeah, and
chips
like
fall.
yeah, and like getting points off turnover, like it's all the stuff that got you to that moment. It's like then, like you said, you can't beat yourself, and like you especially can't beat yourself when you're playing an opponent of that caliber too. Like that that SDSU team is really really good. Like, and so are we. But like it's like when you like if they would have done similar things that we did, it's like you could see it the other way too. It's just like it's just kind of how like obvious like you said it's hard to win. It's kind of how football goes, unfortunately. And like um it's just like like one of the moments like after like the game ends, like obviously not the result we want, everything like that, but like I
Yeah,
remember watching all the boys come off the field, and then like you're one of the last ones off, and like see you get to like before the locker room and just take one last look at everything was just like I could see you like soaking in the moment, even though it's like not how you want it to end, but like it looked like you kind of had like a good moment of like reflection of everything like it took to get to that point, and like
yeah,
all the sacrifices, all the work, and like all the people that like got you to that moment, like through the doubts and everything like that. And it's just like for me, that was like one of the cool moments to see you like take that in and like just have your own like moment in a way, you know?
yeah. I mean, you spend. I mean, the vast majority of my life was to get to that moment right there. Um, and regardless of how that game ended, I knew that I gave my coaches, my teammates, the university, the entire state of Montana, everything that I had to give, I gave. And I told the boys that in the locker room before the game happened. I told them that this is one more opportunity for you to look yourself in the mirror after the game and be able to tell yourself that you gave your brothers everything you had one more time. And that's how I went about that game. I'm sorry. I need to stop getting emotional on camera, man. I can't. I got caught crying on camera too many times this week. I can't do it.
I'm doing my best over here to keep
No, I
myself together.
know. um, but regardless of how that game was going to end, obviously you want to win. Like
Yeah.
as a competitor, you want to win that game. Like that is the game of your life. As a competitor, you want to win that game. But the reason I got so emotional in that moment, leading up to the moment that you were talking about, where I got to the tunnel and I looked back and I had a moment of reflection. The reason I got emotional wasn't because we lost the game. Um, it was because that was the last time I was going to be a college football player. And that means at service level, that might not mean a lot. But what that means to me is that was the last time I was going to be around that group of guys again. That was the last time I got to play for Coach Hauk and for Coach Germer ever. That it was just there were so many last times in that moment. That was the last time I was going to be a Montana Grizzly. You know, so when I say it got me emotional because it was my last time being a college football player, it's everything.
Yeah.
Everything comes with that. You know,
And
and
it's
then you
like
get
that it's what you've wanted to do since you're like a little kid. Like, yes, everybody dreams about playing in the NFL, but it's like everybody's like there's always a step to that. And like every college football player wants to live out that dream. And then to like get to like the tipping point, like that point of it is just like, and like after 66 years of like dedicating more than 50 plus hours a week to it, and then like it's everything, like you said, like it's way more than just like, yeah, like I'm gonna miss being a college football player. There's so much to that, like there's so much depth to that, like there's so many things, there's so many people, there's so many, like you said, so many last of that, and it's a lot of emotion that hits quick, like
Yeah.
when it's done, you know.
Yeah. And then walking up the tunnel and going into the locker room, like you could hear a pin drop. That was the thing I noticed first, is all you could hear was cleats, cleats on concrete is all you could hear. And then you walk into the locker room, and it's everyone's emotional. Like everyone understands what that moment was. That was the last time we would all be together at the same time as teammates, and that hurt a lot, because we had gone through so much together. Um, we had persevered through so much together. We had won so many close games. We fought and scratched and clawed to get to that point, and everyone was disappointed about the result. Coaches were disappointed, players were disappointed, everyone was disappointed about the result of the game. But everyone was emotional because that was the last time that team was going to be together, and that's the hardest part.
Hmm. Yeah, that's the hardest part of every end of the year is just like, even when you're a younger guy, it's like, gosh, I'm not going to be able to play with this guy that I've looked up to for so long, or like it's all of that. And then like especially
Yeah.
with like the bond it seemed like this team had, that maybe
Yeah.
like is just like others didn't at a point. And it's just like, it's just, yeah, I could imagine. And then I have to,
Like I'll add something
yeah,
to that real quick. Like
yeah.
I am so thankful for the guys that we had on this team. I was so great. Like grateful was the word that I had been thinking about that entire week, that entire experience. I was just so grateful.
Mhm.
And when everything came to an end, and I was on that field, and we were shaking hands with the other team and everything, and I was so thankful that I had teammates come up to me and tell me how much I meant to them, and telling me that they were going to miss me. I was so grateful that, first of all, that I had teammates like them, brothers like them, who I felt so close to, and that I wanted to do everything I could for it to see them succeed. And I'm so thankful that I had the impact on them, that I did. Um, People talk about legacy all the time. Um, People will forget what you say. People will forget what you do. People won't forget how you make them feel.
Yeah.
And I'm so grateful that I had the impact, um, on my teammates, on my coaches, on the university that I did. So
Yeah. Yeah, no, and like on that note, I think like you said, like you've got all those teammates coming up to you, and it's like you like like yesterday you put out that tweet about what Montana's meant to you, and you have the interview about what Montana's meant to you, and like you have all that, and you see all the support from everybody, like everyone that watched and everybody that played with you and like stuff like that. And it's like that, to me, like 4 years is like, that is so earned, and not just like somebody, like it's not just somebody sending a note, like that is earned. And I think that every player that you've interacted with, like you've, like even for me when I was there, like when I got moved to O-line, it's like you're the first person to kind of like give me the how to's and like take me under your wing and do stuff like that. And so I think everybody on that team in that locker room notices that. And then everybody on Saturdays, from the outside perspective, see how much you give. Like, I mean, you started 42 out of 43 games. Like and probably some of those should you have played? Who knows? Like you can walk, you can play, according to
That's a
AJ
that's a
Forbes.
that's a that, no,
Like,
that's a story for another episode that
oh,
we'll do soon.
100%, 100%. But it's just like, it's like you said, you gave your all to this university and everything like that. And like, I mean, I know like we all joke about like the honorary Montanan you are, but like you again, that's earned. It's not just like you've put your all into this program and did everything like that led up to this. So like none of that is just people saying that. Like that is earned by you, and I just wanted you to know that as well. Um, and then I guess kind of like towards like recapping, looking back at the whole college career and everything, and like 6 years is a long time to look back on, right? But like, is there anything like that you take away as far as like is there moments that stick out? Is there like any regrets that you've had, or is there anything like that that sticks out to you that like in like these few days, it hasn't been that long, but like these few days of like reflection that you've probably had, like what has stuck out to you in like those regards?
I think I think the best thing about giving everything you have every day for something is you have no regrets. Like people talk about giving 100% every day, whether that whether that if even if you're not 100%, you know what I'm saying? Maybe 80% is the best that you can give that day. Maybe 70% is the best that you can give that day. But that 70% or 80% is your 100%.
Yeah.
But that's the best thing about giving that 100% every day is that you have no regrets. And I think that's why I feel at peace with my college football career. Because I made an effort to do that every day. Um, and so I think that's the biggest piece of advice that I can give to somebody, regardless of it. You don't have to be an athlete.
No.
You can be in corporate America. You can be a dad. You can be, yeah, whatever you're a part of. If you're able to give 100% of what you can give that day to 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 yourself and to what you're doing on that day, then you will have no regrets. You will be at peace with your life. Um, I think that's the biggest piece of advice that I could give.
Yeah. No, it's great. It's great advice. I mean, what a wild ride. Like this season, there's the whole like last 6 years of college football. Like what a like so many ups and downs. Like from like going to just like being at Nebraska to start and then take a chance there, and then taking a chance to leave there, and then COVID happening in the middle of everything. And like
Yeah.
it's just crazy to look back on like what's happened, and just like then you equate to this season, like what like, everything that happened, like just like start like team captain and then like second team all Big Sky, like all this stuff like that, all that stuff. But like I'm just like you said, you've been talking about this whole time, like the bond with that group that you've had and that you like will continue to have is just like that's just it's just crazy what a ride it was this year.
Yeah. And I'm thankful for all of it.
Yes.
Every good day, every bad day, I'm thankful for all of it.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Is there anything else that you got for this topic in this episode to cap us off, or what do you got?
No, man, I this episode I kind of let my emotions on my sleeve. I let my thoughts go, and I thought that was enough.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
yeah, so I'm thankful for everybody who's watching this right now, everybody who has decided to take a part of their day today and spend some time with us. BarnBurner Sports is going to be continuing to grow this year. This is going to be a big year for us. as a company, and I'm excited to see where we go, and I'm excited to see you guys along with us. So, thank you guys.
See ya.